Well, today's episode, we're going to have 5 reviews for all of you. The first one is going to be, of course, ChocoPro 263 with 3 matches, a singles match, tag match, and a 3-way. We even got, of course, the latest Ganbare Pro with Punch Drunk Love 2022 that took place today. We also got NWA USA. And then, of course, we cannot forget NXT Halloween Havoc is going to be a nightmare. And, of course, New Japan Strong Autumn Attack. And, of course, we got a couple of news updates. We're definitely going to be talking about what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with ChocoPro 263. It opened up with singles competition. We got, of course, the new trainee, Miya Yotsaba, taking on, of course, a legend in the Yoshi world, Coyote Yonayame. Basically, this is one of those matches where she's now stepping up her game. We haven't seen Miya for almost a month, but I'm going to presume that she must have been busy with other things. But I have to say, it was a very interesting matchup. However, I don't think she's ever been challenged by someone like Yonayama until finally she ended up in the wrong side of an armbar. So Miya had no other choice but to tap out. Now, our next match, we have a 3-way match. We have Sayaka Obihiro versus Masahiro Takanashi versus Mei Oka. Yes, folks, it's Ken Oka, but he decided to impersonate Mei Shiruga. Now, if you guys don't remember, a while back, Mei Shiruga decided to play a little fun game with Oka. If you guys remember, Oka has this theme song called Bad Communications, where like, whoa, 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 bad communication. Mei decided to taunt him by saying, whoa, 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 I'm Big Apple. And of course, Ken Oka did not like that one way or the other. So basically, now that, as you know, Mei Shiruga is currently on excursion in the U.S., what's a better way to little make fun? Even Balinaki is like, my best bro would never do something like that. So that was the entire match like that, basically. But the obvious thing was going to go is who's going to walk out. In 3 ways, it's tricky. Now, you know that Masa is kind of an expert of trying to find ways around his opponents. Not like cheating wise, but more like looking for loopholes. However, that did not go exactly according to plan because he was not the one who got pinned. It was Sayaka Ubihira who got pinned by a somewhat of a roll by Kenoka in order to win the match. Now, our next match, we have tag team action. We got intergender tag match, boys versus girls. We have Chiko Shikawa teaming up once again with Sayaka to take on Hagane Shino and Balian Aki. Now, this is one of those matches, as you know. Hagane has to go across diagonally with his tag team partner, his egg-tart tag team partner, Chiko Shikawa. Now, keep in mind, she has no problem going up against her own tag team partner, but that's how it is for her. So, however, she did put up a lot of her energy in this match, but in the end, it was Hagane who picked up the win by an armbar. Excuse me, what a arm breaker onto Chiko Shikawa, forcing her to tap out. Now, a Junkin tournament. I knew that Miya was not going to make it, but it didn't happen. Hagane didn't make it either. Balinaki, he got eliminated in the first round. But to my surprise, it was Kenoh, who won, and impersonating Mei Shiruda in order to win. So I'm like, can't believe Kenoh won, but we'll see what happens. But don't forget, the following day we do have 264 taking place. I'll be reviewing that soon enough. But right now, I believe it's time for Ganbare Pro. Okay, Ganbare Pro. This is the Punch Drunk Love 2022. Also took place on October 22nd. We have opened up with Yuki Kanazaki taking on the former champion Yumehiro Inamari. Now this match, it was okay for an opener, but I wasn't too much hype for it because, Inamari, I would have seen him with a much better competitor, but this guy Kanazaki, he's kind of new to me. But I'm gonna get used to him once I watch more Ganbare Pro. But it was a good match, but it ended with underhook powerbomb by Inamari to pick up the win. Now our next match we have Tyson Miyaguchi taking on Miyuki Watase. This match was more, it felt a little bit of the martial arts feel, but however this match ended with a knockout by Miyaguchi. I did not anticipate that, but once the referee was counting up to 10, immediately Watase collapsed to the ground and ended right there, giving Miyaguchi the win that he needed. Next up, we got a bit of a captain's fall match. This one I got lost, but here's who was involved. Team number one, we got Yuna Manaze, Moeka Maruhi, and Soma Takoa versus Yoshiko Hasegawa, Yuna Mizumori, Harukaze, and Shinichiro Tominaga. Now, basically, the Soma Takawa and Tominaga were the only ones who are the captain. So if whoever gets pinned the captain, it's over. But it did not happen in that fashion. They kind of ended with, of course, yeah, Manaze was the one who was the captain in her team, but it did not end it so well. It was Tominaga who picked up the win completely. It was completely over right from there. Tominaga picked up a good win. So I was surprised that it ended like that. Next up, we got Kyosuke Ishii taking on Kenoh. Now, this is a tough battle I have seen so far. Now, Kenoh, he knows he's not in the face of some slouch. Kyosuke Ishii is someone who I've seen countless times. He is a great competitor, but it was his devastating heel kick that sealed the deal onto Kenoh. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now our next match is a special tag match. We have Koki Iwasaki and Shuichiro Katsumata to take on Seiya Morohashi and the current Spirit of Ganbare Pro World Openweight Champion Hartley Jackson. Now keep in mind, Katsumata will be actually challenging Jackson for the title. I don't know when will that happen, but this is more of a preview that could lead to it. But I was surprised that, of course, the entire time you have to. Jackson is a big individual that is not easy to take down, but somehow it was, of course, Iwasaki who decided to try to hold him down as possible for Katsumata to take out Morohashi into a submission move to force him to tap out. And there's no, in my doubt of mind, this with Katsumata and Jackson will have a killer match for the title. So still got a little bit to go till we get there. So I think that's pretty much it for Ganbare Pro. I believe it's time for NWA USA. Okay, NWA USA opened up in a non-title match for is the Dirty Sexy Boys taking on the current NWA World Tag Team Champions La Rebellion. Now keep in mind, if they pick up a win, they do get an opportunity for those tag titles. However, that match did not go according to plan for them. Now they could have easily won it if it wasn't for the interference of Bestia 6'6" when he double missed both JTG and Dirty Dango in order for Rebellion to win the match. So basically, they came out empty handed for an opportunity to hopefully get a shot of those tag team titles. Now, we had a special interview earlier today where we have Joe Galli, our commentator, talks to Tyrus. Now, as you know, Tyrus knows that he has to make the hardest decision, which is the World Television title, a title he did not want to let go, but he has to in order for him to accomplish. But he is currently confident enough to believe that Jordan Clearwater will win the tournament and keep this title straight into the family, which is, of course, Idolmania Sports Management. But of course, he even talked about advice that he had from his grandfather, who, according to what Joe Galli said, he was a wrestler. So I don't. He said that he had to do this or something. I'm not sure, but looks more like he has to go all the way because right now he has to remain focused on the task at hand against Trevor Murdoch and Cardona in the at Hard Times in New Orleans. Now we do get an interview with, of course, Marshe Rocket and Black G's. Now Marshe Rocket said he's proud of his boy Jordan Clearwater, and Black G's is the same. But whatever turmoil goes on between both he and, of course, Tyrus, it's all within the family. So basically, they're trying to keep this, that everything is cool and all that. So we don't know for sure if they're 100% cool, because Black G's was really not happy with the result, how Tyrus was trying to do something outside. But we'll see what happens then. Now we have a very interesting match. We had a 3-win match, and the leader will win, who become between Ella Envy and Kenzie Page, along with Roxy, someone they teamed up. Whoever wins will become the leader of Pretty in Power. However, Roxy is more of the weakest link, so they had to force her to get on the ground. But they were fighting. Who was both Ella and Kenzie were fighting over the leadership, but it was, of course, Kenzie Page who walked out as the victor. I don't think Ella wasn't counting on that, but that's how it is. Now we do get another interview with May Valentine, with this time with Trevor Murdoch. Same old story. He knows what he's walking himself into, that he's not just gonna keep on going. He's gonna keep on going no matter what, and I think that's a good thing. He knows what the task is at hand, because he's not only facing one opponent, he's facing two. Now our next match, we have Caprice Coleman versus Gags the Gimp. This is the first time they ever encounter. Now, I think this is something that we did not anticipate, but Father James Mitchell was there, whispered something into Gags the Gimp. I don't know what exactly he told him, but he used the horns onto Coleman Caprice in order to win the match. Now, as you know, the NWA has been dealing with a lot of strange things coming from Cardona. Now, as you know, it's been added later that at Hard Times for the women's title, we have, of course, Kylan King versus Camille versus Chelsea Green for the Burke. Now, Chelsea Green is determined to win that match, so they try to weasel their way in. This is the same kind of thing. Now, the obvious question does remain, will the Cardonas walk out with both titles? Well, we don't know until we reach New Orleans. Now, our next final match is for the finals of the NWA World Television title. This one ended in a time limit draw because apparently they ran out of time. AJ Kazana feels that he earned the right to become champion. Jordan Clearwater believes that he doesn't, that he is just at a different level. But I don't think people want that. But I would say if this match they had to continue at another timing. I say make this match happen at Hard Times. It will be a perfect opportunity that way. But we'll see when it takes place. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with NXT Halloween Havoc. Okay, NXT Halloween Havoc. As you know, we open up with our host, Shotzi, and Quincy Elliott, which is going to be a blast. However, our opening match is none other the ladder match for the NXT North American title. Now, to recap, this title was vacant due to the fact that Solo Sikoa returned to NXT even though he was no longer part of the main roster. Wesley was not a happy camper to Shawn Michaels did not give him the title, a title that he felt that it rightfully belongs to him. But however, Michaels has a different idea. So he set up a series of matches for 5 people to be in it. Carmelo Hayes was already automatically in it. However, there were others that stepped in. We have Wes Lee, who earned his position, but even though in the match by default. And then, of course, Oro Mensah earned it too. So did Von Wagner, and of course, Nathan Frazier. So, however, this is a one brutal match. But however, the only X factor in this is Von Wagner for being the biggest one. But of course, Mr. Stone was taken out, and I did like how Frazier and Mensah were able to eliminate the bigger threat. But the biggest surprise was, of course, Wes Lee finally getting his hands on the North American title, becoming first time ever a singles competitor. I'm sure Carmelo Hayes is not going to take this kindly, but let's just say that Wes Lee finally did what he wanted to do, win this title. Now, as you know, we have the women's title. Mandy Rose decided to find Alba Fire along with Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne in order to beat her up, drag her back to the arena in order for her to go get on with it. So that's what took place, but it did not go well for either of them because Mandy Rose took off, Alba Fire took off with Mandy Rose, leaving Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne behind. Now, moving on, of course, we saw Chase U has a new student, Duke Hudson. Somehow he was able to answer the right question for Halloween Havoc in 1997, about a match that involved, of course, the Steiner brothers, I believe. But of course, Bodie Haywood, who is the prize student of Andre Chase, he tells him, "Look, I don't trust him, Mr. Chase." And Chase agreed with him that he doesn't trust him, but he needs Bodie Haywood to be on his best toes in order to get back on in the game, to be the focus on his studies. Now our next match is the weapons match. We have, of course, Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez. This was one of those intense matches, because these were 2 former best friends and now they're fighting each other. Now Jade accused Roxanne of trying to steal the spotlight, tried to this and that. But what I did like is how Cora Jade said that she was never her friend. And of course, that triggered the instinct from Roxanne in order to tell her that she always been her best friend. And then boom, pops rocks right on the chairs, giving Roxanne Perez the win. But the obvious question does remain, is this far from over from winning? I'd say we will see what happens then. Now, as we went to the half-point mark with Halloween Havoc, Shotzi Blackheart, Quincy Elliott decided to have a little bit of fun. But once again, Lash Legend, who feels that she should be the host of the show, Quincy Elliott, who defended Shotzi Blackheart, decided, to give his peace of mind of what he thought of her. But it was Shotzi who, in fact, gave her a piece of her mind, and blammo, just like that. Now our next match is an ambulance match between Damon Kemp and Julius Creed. Now keep in mind, Damon Kemp has stirred the pot with, of course, what's his name? With the Creed brothers the entire time. However, Brodus' career is on the line here. So one thing that was crazy is how Julius was able to use his own body in order to stop the door from ever closing. I'm like, dang, he really took it that far and extreme in order to do that. I'm like, wow, that's pretty sick. But it was, of course, Damon Kemp who shoved Julius Creed shoved Damon Kemp right into the ambulance and closed it, and that gives the opportunity for his brother to stay. Now it's only a matter of time until the Creed brothers get back on the tag team championship way and reclaim that was taken from them. Next match, we have the women's match, Alba Fire versus Mandy Rose. This match was insane, but I knew this match was going to end exactly like how it was because it ended with Mandy Rose winning. Now, I saw recently from Twitter fans, some fans are not happy with the result. They felt like they should just start giving other people chances, but hopefully they find the right competitor that could dethrone her. I want you guys to tell me, who do you think should be the one to dethrone Mandy Rose? Me, I can't determine that. Now, what's our next match? Now let's jump into our main event. the NXT championship. Oh my god. This was also another good match because, as you know, these are different men. You have a guy who likes to dissect his victims. You have one who is a freaking Russian czar. You have the dog faced gremlin. Oh man. What more can you want? But the obvious question is, was this another mistake that Braun Breaker? Now keep in mind, history can repeat itself. As you remember, it was Braun Breaker who lost the NXT title to what's his name? Oh yeah, Dolph Ziggler. But I'd say this had some great moments in this match. But the X factor is who is the more bigger threat to remove, and I think the one that seems to be the much X factor is McDonough, since he is a certified genius and a maniac that would do anything to win the match. But it was, of course, the spear by Braun Breaker that allowed him to win the match onto Dragunov to retain the title. So, what a great moment. But the obvious thing, I hope McDonough probably will be getting that opportunity, but this time without Dragunov in the way. So we'll see what happens in the after the fallout, and we'll proceed from there. So let's move on with New Japan Strong. Okay, New Japan Strong, Autumn Attack. Opening match, we have tag team action. We got Greg Sharp and Jacob Austin Young taking on the West Coast Wrecking Crew, Jerome Nelson and Royce Isaacs. Now, I have to say this was also a good match because it showed a bit of some of the tag team work we can see from both sides. Now, according to what the commentators mentioned about Sharp and Young, that they have teamed up together before in China. Now, I don't know anything about that, but it seems like they did some great work together. But they're facing a team who knows how to use the ring as a tag team, and that is, of course, the West Coast Wrecking Crew. I was it was a pretty good match. I like how it opened, but in the end, it was in fact, of course, the combination from the West Coast Wrecking Crew onto Sharp in order to win the match. I was like, wow, pretty impressive. I feel like they should get another opportunity of the tactiles, but only time will tell. Now, our next match, this is more a revenge match between Yuya Uemura and Christopher Daniels. Keep in mind, they were involved in the tournament for the tag titles, but they lost in the finals, and then later they tried to fix things between each other, but Uemura kind of messed things up, caused Daniels to, of course, to turn on him, but this time it was more payback on Uemura for what happened. So I think this was another telling of the story. Uemura's not going to tolerate Daniels for his behavior, and I think that was a good story to tell. But Uemura was able to escape the Winged Angels, and it was like insane that he was able to roll up Daniels to pick up the win. But Daniels was not satisfied with the match ending in Uemura's favor, and he dismantled him by doing the Winged Angels under him and under the table, the chair, and then boom. I'm not sure if this is far from over, but we'll see what happens. Our main event is Rocky Romero and Shingo Takagi. Oh man, this one's another classic. I have to say, I love Shingo. He's a strong competitor. Rocky had to deal with this guy no matter what, and he was able to dodge many of it, but however, it took many tries like the Palm Bean Bomber, Last Dragon, in order to beat him. And however, it was Shingo with the Last of the Dragon that finished him off twice, and it was over right there. So Rocky Romero Shingo Takagi walked out as the victor. I was like, I love this match. I think the main event was the best one for me. So I think that's pretty much it right now with New Japan Strong. I believe it's time for news updates. Okay, so here's our news updates. This one's a very interesting one that I found in about Kenoh. Now, I often talked about Yohei. He talks something interesting about him. Don't normally hear him talk about other wrestlers, but he did state that he is one of those guys that has the best drop kicks. Now, we've seen wrestlers that know how to do specific drop kicks in their careers, but Kenoh finds his more exhilarating. And he feels that Yohei should be the guy at the top of the junior heavyweight division. Now, I did mention this before on a DW's discussions that Yohei has never captured the GHC junior heavyweight title. And that is the one title he needs. Currently, right now, Hayata is the current champion. Yohei needs to win that title no matter what. And I think that was a pretty good one that I enjoy, like hearing. Kenoh, who plays a badass character in Noah, giving his side about what wrestler he feels should be at the top. And I think Yohei is one of those guys that I'm happy to hear from Kenoh that should be right there. And I think that is something I'm definitely going to pay attention to. Now, as we speak, we should be beginning the Goddesses of Stardom Tag League. However, we do proceed with the semifinals of the IWGP Women's Championship. Now, history repeats itself again, but this time between Mayu Iwatani and Utami Hayashishita. Now, keep in mind, Hayashishita was the one who dethroned Mayu 2 years ago. Now, the obvious question is, now, Utami has been a top champion since then. The red belt kind of shut the door off for Mayu, but now another door is open. This is more like, okay, who's going to walk out? Many people are saying Mayu is the one who has to win it. No questions about it. And then you got Utami Shea who's saying she's a fighting champion, and there's no doubt about that. So we're like neck here. But I have to say, it's a very interesting dilemma, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how this will be proceed. So hopefully I get to see Tag League, and that's going to be awesome. Now, if you're big fans of DDT Pro Wrestling, well, we got some interesting developments in two different fronts. First one, if you guys ever go to Japan, they have a sports pro wrestling bar called Dropkick. So basically, they announced for their star Soma Takoa to be the manager of that particular place, to manage the bar. However, the reason he's agreed to it, he likes to drink, and if you guys see him, get drunk with him, no problem. Now, the best for last, of course, DDT will be making their return to the US first time in 4 years, and they're going to be part of the collective of 2022. This is a collective of wrestling promotions who are associating themselves with GCW. They're going to have two shows at the end of March. The first one is called DDT Goes Hollywood, and then of course GCW versus DDT at the Ukrainian Culture Center, and March 30th and the 31st. I think those are going to be good matches, good events. Now, no information yet about what's going to be on the card, but I'll put a pin on this one and we go from there. So I think that's pretty much it. What we got with our news updates. It's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, we got more ChocoPro. I will be reviewing, of course, GCW, and if there's anything else I'll be throwing in, I'll be doing that too. So be patient with me on that. So I believe we do got another New Japan show. I'm not sure, but we'll see what happens then. But for now, I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. And have a nice day.